The 2025 Ottawa Red Blacks were a pretty pitiful team. After a playoff appearance in 2024, the Red Blacks were hoping for an improved season. The team wound up with an absolutely awful performance, winning only 4 games and losing 14. And I was foolish enough to play as them in Tecmo Super Bowl. So if you haven't seen it yet, I spent some time over the past couple of weeks playing an entire season using a modified version of Tecmo Super Bowl for the 2025 Canadian Football League teams. You can check it out actually on this channel. In fact, you should go watch it. Some of it's kind of funny. But I'm going to warn you, it was really ugly. Our offense struggled the entire season. We were good at throwing interceptions, that's for sure. And our defense simply couldn't stop anybody. It really was an ugly performance all in all. We wound up doing worse than the real-life Red Blacks, winning only 2 games and losing 16. But I learned a lot in the process. In particular, I learned a few methods that can help you with playing Tecmo Super Bowl on the so-called juiced mode. But let me explain to you what juiced mode actually means, since most people don't seem to know this. If you look closely at these highlights, you'll notice that something is different. The computer-controlled players are simply faster and more capable in this ROM than anywhere else. Even when the computer would guess wrong, it was still able to stop my plays. And when it guessed right, I was a dead duck. So this is the sign that we're playing on juiced mode. Now, there's not necessarily a great universal definition out there for just what we mean when we say juiced. And if you look closely through what people who edit this game talk about, you'll realize that it means different things in like different files. Sometimes it's harder than in other files. It's kind of weird. But I have been able to find a couple of things here and there in the vast archives of the Tecmo Super Bowl forums. Okay, so in the original version of Tecmo Super Bowl, the game starts out easy and becomes harder if you win. In other words, the first game you play in a season will always be the easiest one. Your receivers will be open, your running plays will work, and the game will treat you nicely. However, the game will become gradually harder depending on how you do in your first game. So at its most basic level, juiced mode is where the computer is cranked up to play against you all the time as if you had a great team, like in the base game. It can be really, really difficult when you're up against this type of opponent. In fact, sometimes it might feel impossible for you to win, but it's not. There are a few things you need to remember though when you're playing in juiced mode. First of all, you need to take what the defense gives you. It's tempting on offense to just launch the ball as far as you can and hope for the best. However, when you learn how to read the defense, you'll discover that the computer will occasionally leave you a wide open short distance option or two when you're passing. And if there's nothing open at all, you really need to just take the yards you can get and hold on to the ball. What you never want to do with this mode is to just force the ball up and hope for something good to happen. Trust me, I've done it. With the computer juiced like this, you really need to develop quick eyes and quick reflexes so that you can find the guys right away who are actually going to be open. You'll find that you usually can get a receiver open even if you think you can't. But you need to look quickly to see how the defense is guarding your receivers. In fact, if you're lucky, you might find that you're even able to throw on top of a blitz and gain some yardage. In other words, you never want to give up on a play on offense. No matter how bad it looks, you can always figure out a way to gain yards, and that counts for running as well. It's pretty common to see your running backs get flattened when you're on juice mode. However, there are a couple of tricks to get good gains. One thing to remember is that the computer has a hard time following you if you go vertical, I mean up or down. I've been able to work out some big gains just by doing stuff like that. Also, make sure that you watch your blockers and actually follow them. Tecmo Super Bowl has a great blocking system, so make sure that you use it. And then we come to defense. Yes, the Ottawa Red Blacks have a horrible defensive secondary. I mean, really, really bad. I really could have used all of the help that I could have got. Fortunately, there were some very, very kind people out there who helped me out on my comments section and on Discord and so on. For a little while, I decided to go for that lurch on defense. However, the lurch trick can really hurt you in juiced mode if you're not facing a passing play. In the end, I found it was best to choose a middle linebacker and wait for the play to unfold there before committing. This can be really nerve-wracking, but it does work the best in the end. In particular, if you've got no secondary, you really need to watch for those running plays. We lost way too many games giving up huge runs. And then you've got your special teams as well. Make sure you take the points where you can get them. You can punt if you need to, though I honestly recommend going for it instead. Usually you can push and get those extra yards, especially when you learn how to read the defense. I've still never figured out a good way to return juiced punts. However, when you get that vertical running trick down, you can return kickoffs a long way. Anyway, I hope that this helps at least some of you out. The real trick to this, though, is to just practice and to be patient with yourself. You will lose a lot of games in juiced mode at first, just know that going in. But the thing is, it's okay. After all, it's more fun to play this way, and you will have a better experience overall. Anyway, let me know how you're doing with your own saves and your own projects. I really love playing this game, and I love hearing about it, so drop me a line.